Hey, what's up, guys? GatieTrades. I have a video for you guys today that I really haven't talked about much on my YouTube channel. I know if you've been tuning into the live streams, you'll hear me talk about this stuff all the time. Basically, I'm going to drop to you guys pretty much everything I know about trading psychology, and hopefully it can inspire some of you guys or help you guys see things in a certain way that can maybe help you improve your kind of mindset towards trading. So I'm going to bring myself to the bottom right corner. Um, and we'll get started. So I want to take your attention to these three main topics: trading rules, money, and emotions. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, but I want to focus on these three things. Keep it simple and kind of focus on these things I think are kind of like the main aspect of trading psychology. So trading rules. Trading rules are basically rules that you set for yourself to follow, and it's very important that every single person has some sort of trading rules, and you don't want to just kind of go and figure it out every single day on your own. And I'm going to explain to you why it's so important to have clear rules, okay? Take this from me, all right? Rules will build confidence, because if you set yourself a certain rule-based idea and you follow it and then you see results, you're going to have confidence in those rules knowing that they work. So it's going to help you build confidence, and confidence is very important, and that's something we'll talk about. It also builds organization, right? If you don't have rules, there's a good chance you're going to be disorganized and maybe see something a way you're not supposed to, make a decision that you're not supposed to because it's kind of outside of your scope, right? Rules will keep you in check all the time, because as long as you follow your rules, you shouldn't really expect anything unexpected, right? Everything should have an expectation, and you have expectations for yourself because you follow the rules and you know what the potential outcomes are, okay? The most important thing about rules, in my opinion, is the fact that they prevent you from making mistakes. Because if you follow your rules, that's the most you can do in your trading. You can't do more than that. You can't control if it's going to hit your stop loss. You can't control if it's going to hit your take profit. You can't control anything besides your rules, right? And if you keep making decisions on the fly, the more decisions you make, the better chances of you making a mistake, right? You want to minimize the amount of decisions you need to make in live market, because you don't want to make a mistake. It's very easy to make one mistake when there's so many factors that can come into play. Your emotions, your how you felt that day, how you feel about the trade. Maybe you see something in this one specific interval or time frame that influences your opinion on the trade. There's so many ways to make one mistake, and one mistake can easily spiral in trading if you don't have full control of yourself. One mistake can also ruin your confidence, ruin your next trade, maybe lead to a blown account. You want to try, and now obviously mistakes happen, and a part of trading is accepting the mistake and not letting it be more. That's very important. But in my opinion, with rules, you can prevent mistakes, because if you followed your rules and you lost a trade or whatever happened, you can at least tell yourself that, well, you know what? I followed my rules. So I didn't really make a mistake. The trade just didn't play out according to whatever reason, or maybe the rules aren't good. You can always change your rules, right? Rules are not set in stone. You can change them, benefit yourself, benefit your model by making adjustments to your rules that can help improve your trading. There's nothing wrong with trading rules, but the key is to, before you enter a trade, you're following your rules. Why? So you don't end up making a mistake, right? I'll give you guys a very good example. I don't have very clear rules on, well, I didn't used to have, now I do, on moving my stop loss while I'm in a trade. A lot of the time, I move my stop loss when I'm not supposed to. I'll get stopped out and the trade will hit take profit, right? That happened three times just last week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and over three times so far in January. And that's really frustrating for me, especially when I lose trades and then I'm about to win one, but I move my stop loss and now I get stopped out and the trade plays out in my favor. That's really frustrating. That really affects your mental, affects your next trades, and all could have been very simply avoided just by implementing one rule on stop loss management. Do this when you see this. Don't touch the stop loss unless this happens. Move the stop loss if you see this. And if I followed that rule and I found a rule that would fit me, that one little thing would have helped me become more obviously I was not profitable in January, but it would have probably helped me push towards that profitable month. Instead, we had a losing month. And that's just one example of one rule you could have followed or implemented that would have prevented you from making mistakes. My mistake being moving my stop loss too early, right? But obviously, you cannot be perfect and you are going to make mistakes. The key is to not let it spiral into more mistakes. As much as you want to be a robot, I know everyone says you want to be a robot in trading, but you really can't be a robot because you're still human, right? You really cannot be a robot. Ideally, you want to aim for that, but you're not a robot. You're going to have to make decisions on the fly, of course. The key is to not be too hard on yourself because you're going to make mistakes. You learn from them. If you don't make mistakes, you can't improve. You literally cannot improve if you don't make mistakes. This isn't going to be about improvement, though. So then the next question is, what rules can you potentially have? Right? You have rules on how many trades you can take, risk management rules, money management rules, trading rules. So what actually criteria do I need to see before I look for a trade? What criteria do I need to click enter? When should I click enter? How or what needs to form in order for me to click enter into a specific trade, right? All these rules can help you prevent making mistakes. Anytime you go into a market or into a live trading session, review it and ask yourself, how many decisions did you have to make on the fly, right? Where you're like, okay, I see this, I'm gonna do this now. You want to try to avoid as many of those as possible because you want to prevent yourself from making mistakes. Plan so you don't plan to fail, right? Having a plan so you don't plan to fail. And that's obviously how that impacts your trading psychology. So let's take a step away from trading rules for now. Hopefully that sheds some light on the importance of rules. I want to talk about money because this is probably where most people struggle when it comes to trading psychology, because they're thinking about the money, right? They're thinking about the money. And the truth is, when your mind is clouded by money, you're going to make misjudgment calls, right? You're going to see people making money. You think you can make that much. You want to risk 500 to make 1,000 on every single trade because you saw someone do that and it worked out for them. Or you want to over leverage because you want to make money really quick, get financially free. But in reality, that's just not really how it's going to work. I'm sure you would know that right now because you've probably been doing it for a while. I did it for a while and it was not working. So you're probably starting to see the lack of results or the lack of progress really just by going with that mindset. So in terms of money, I feel like there's two kind of paths you can go through when it comes to psychology. You have winning and losing. First, let's talk about winning. When you're winning money, it's very easy to get greedy. It's very easy to get overconfident. It's very easy to get impatient because you want to make more and more and more. You get very greedy. These are not the things you want to avoid. You don't want to be attached to the money you are making because then you will be making decisions based on that attachment, not actually the correct decisions that you're supposed to be making. For example, I can speak from experience. There have been multiple times where I'm really close to a payout and I do something like, for example, let's just say I had a good 2 months of profitability. I'm getting close to another payout, and then I see, okay, I'm $1,000 away. Let me just go risk 500 in one trade, hit 1-2R, and then boom, I get the payout, and then I lose that trade and automatically spiral myself all the way back down to pretty much a blown account, and that's really, really frustrating, right? That's a very hard hole to get out of. So ideally, you're just preventing yourself from getting in that hole. Don't let the people on social media influence you. You're not watching them trade every day. You have no idea what's actually happening. You just see screenshots and posts of wins or payouts or whatever it is, whatever it may be. You don't actually know what's happening, right? And even if they actually did make all that money and they had a crazy win rate of 95% chance, well, that's not you. So why would you compare yourself to that, right? I don't compare myself to LeBron when I'm playing basketball saying, oh man, I missed this 3-point shot. No, I'm not LeBron. I'm going to do my best and let's see the results that I get and I'll improve. That's how they did it, right? So don't let them influence you. You never know what's really happening behind the screen. You don't see every single trade they take. That's why I live stream every day. I want you guys to see me lose and win because you'll see the full transparency. This is exactly how it is realistically, right? Maybe there are some exceptions to people who are just absolute demons. I don't know. I personally don't believe in that, but that's why I live stream every day because this is the reality of trading. You're going to lose. You're going to go on losing streaks. You're going to have losing months. If you've never had a losing month, well, let me know when you want to join the party because people be coming in every day, all right? That's kind of the idea about winning. Now I want to talk about losing, which is a little bit more difficult to work with. Losing can be very difficult. Take it from me, because I lose. I lose a lot sometimes. losing will lead to a lack of confidence in your rules, which can be very difficult to get out of. Losing can lead to more losing, and you kind of just in this cycle where you lose, you lack confidence, and you try to push yourself too much, and then you kind of just really hard to get out of that cycle, you know? The good thing about losing, you have an opportunity here, and this is what I want to focus on, is the opportunity you get after you lose. You get a very unique, you put yourself in a very unique position to improve and progress your trading dramatically after you lose. And I'm going to explain that to you guys what that is. If you lose, say you lose 3 trades in a row, right? You start getting this emotion where like, maybe this isn't working. Oh, I got to change this, or whatever it may be. Maybe you lack confidence after. You're in a very unique position to take a very large step forward in your trading, and that's overcoming loss. Because once you can overcome losses once, you're pretty much unstoppable. What's gonna stop you other than losing? Winning, it's possible, like we did talk about greed and all that stuff, but when you lose and you're able to overcome it, you really, really, really become, I want to say, almost invincible when it comes to trading. Now, obviously, it's never invincible, but speaking from experience, I've had large losing streaks, and I've managed to overcome a losing streak and get a payout. And to me, now that I'm in a losing streak now, it doesn't affect me nearly as much because I already overcome it, you know? I already was in that terrible place, hole, losing, lack of confidence, impatience, frustration, like asking myself, does this even work? I don't know. But then I overcame it. I kept going, and I ended up getting a payout. And I was like, wow, if this happens again, well, I'm not going to panic this time because that's just going to delay the inevitable. I know if I keep doing this, eventually it'll work out. So you put yourself in a unique position to improve from your mistakes and your losses, and to improve your mentality and your potential, because once you can overcome that once, losses are just not going to feel the same anymore. When you first lose as a trader, it hurts. It almost stings. You almost can't even go about your day properly. And I was like that, man. I used to lose, and my day would suck afterwards. The entire day. Maybe the week. Maybe the whole week would just suck. And there's just nothing I could do about it. It just sucked. Now, I lose, I go to the gym. I come back, I watch a movie. Come back the next day, lose. Same thing next day. Next day I come back and lose. Guess what? We're going to the gym. Gonna watch a movie. Or whatever you want to do throughout the day. It doesn't affect me as more. Why? Because I've already been through that. Right? I already lost so much and I overcame it. So notice how by losing, I put myself in that specific, very specific circumstance where I give myself an opportunity to take the next step. Right? Don't take steps backwards. You're going to be put in that opportunity once you lose, and you're going to have 2 places you can go from there. You can either move higher, and that will lead to a very drastic move higher in your journey, or you can move lower, where you start, say, gambling accounts, over leveraging, trying to make all your losses back, try to make all your money back in 2 weeks, try to make $10,000 in payouts with buying 3 funded accounts, full porting them, and it's just not going to happen. You're not taking the steps forward. You're taking steps backwards, delaying the inevitable, because eventually you're going to overcome that loss, assuming you don't quit, right? So why delay that? You know it's going to happen eventually, so don't delay that for yourself. Don't make your journey longer than it needs to be, right? So that's what I think about losing. You need to get comfortable losing, and obviously it's difficult, but in my opinion, something that a lot of people kind of take for granted, and I'm recently trying to put this into my trading more as well, is you don't necessarily need to win more. I think losing less is a lot easier than winning more, right? I know a lot of my losses are very avoidable, right? Whether it was a small rule break, whether if I was just impatient, whether if it was, I was trading a bad condition where I already anticipated a bad condition. Sometimes I have a level I expected to get hit, and then the level gets hit, and I'm like, okay, let me just look for this now instead. But in reality, like, I had my idea played out, so why am I forcing another idea, Those are losses that you can avoid. I know my trading, not everyone's trading is different, but obviously, if you can see yourself in an opportunity to reduce your losses, forget winning more, because that will come, right? But if you can set yourself an opportunity to reduce losses, naturally your trading journey will just become a lot easier. Obviously, something else about losing, and I think taking accountability and owning it is very important. I used to lose, and I used to not even journal my losses. I used to just be like, whatever, I could have just done this instead, or like, oh, next time I just won't do this. Don't do that. You lost. Own up to it. Take accountability. Telling someone, as much as uncomfortable as it may be, I used to be uncomfortable telling people that, oh, I lost this, or oh, I blew my account, whatever. But now I realize that it's normal, you know? Everyone loses accounts, especially on these funded accounts. You don't have much to work with. 2,000 drawdown, you know you're not going to be risking 1 or 2% of that 2,000. That's like $20, right? You're going to be risking usually around 200. Some people be risking a lot more. Of course you're going to blow the account. It's pretty inevitable unless you get a nice streak going early on in the account. You're probably going to blow the account, right? Unless you have a, you know, like you're consistently profitable and you know exactly what you're doing with your risk management and stuff. Also your trade loss threshold, right? Like if say, you know, you won't lose 10 trades in a row, then you pick a number that obviously risk management comes to a part in that. But for the most part, you're risking around 10 to 15% of your drawdown, sometimes more for some people. I personally risk like 10%. There's a decent chance, you know, you can lose like 6 trades in a row, right? And lose the account. Doesn't mean you're a bad trader. You could have risked 1% and you would have been nowhere near losing the account. But that's just the reality of funded accounts, right? They put very specific, harsh parameters on you and you got to work through them. So don't think like, oh, you blew an account, you're a bad trader, you can't be profitable, you're worse than these people on. It's not like that. It really is not like that. At the end of the day, we're all on a journey. We're all going to make it to the finish line as long as we keep going. Last thing I want to talk about here is just know that other people are losing too. For me, that kind of helped me when I was kind of going through losses, right? Because I used to see people winning and I was like, bro, why is everyone winning? How am I losing? We all trade ICT. I'm obviously seeing something wrong. Like, is my model wrong? But don't do that to yourself. Do not do that to yourself. Everyone is losing. Do not look at other people winning and compare. There are times when you win and other people lose and they're probably thinking the exact same thing, right? Because you're just not thinking about that because you won, right? But when you lose, you're like, oh man, I lost and these guys won. I'm bad, or I must have done something wrong, or I need to change something. Don't do that to yourself. Just know that other people are losing. Losing is very normal. Losing streaks are normal. And it's just a part of the thing, right? So this kind of ties into progress. So the idea here is not about winning or losing. It's more about making progress. You can progress whether you win, whether you lose. 1% progress every day towards your goal is still 1% progress every day. 0.1% progress towards your final objective is still 0.1% progress, right? You know what's not progress? Minus 0.1%. Making decisions that take you back from reaching your goal, right? You want to, let's say, reach the top of a staircase. Don't take steps backwards. Even if you take a very tiny step forward or no steps at all, that's still a lot better than taking steps backwards. Why? Taking steps backwards not only makes you further from the goal, just makes the journey a lot harder. Because if you go up 2 steps and you got to go back down 2 steps, well, now you have to redo those 2 steps. And that's really frustrating. And it can get very, very frustrating very quickly because you're not making progress. The last thing I want to talk about here is just because you're not seeing results doesn't mean you're not making progress. Sometimes the progress is very small. Sometimes not moving backwards is progress, right? Because in a profession like trading, it's very easy to move backwards, right? It's very easy to make mistakes, fumble the bag, lose capital, lose accounts, and you kind of feel like you're taking steps backwards from your goal. Sometimes no steps backwards is progress in itself. But just because you're not seeing results, just because you're not seeing a payout, just because you're not seeing 100 wins in a row, just because you're not seeing a whole bunch of green, it doesn't mean you're not becoming a better trader, you know? That's just not how it works. Just because you're not seeing green does not mean you're not becoming a better trader, right? Becoming a better trader is when you start seeing more control of yourself, more control of your emotions, more control of your rules. You start having a very clear model. You start seeing things clearly. You start journaling every day. You start learning from your mistakes. You make small adjustments to your model and you start getting a better understanding. Sometimes just showing up every day is progress, right? You may not feel it because you're not getting anything out of it visually. And as humans, you know, we like to see that almost instant gratification for what we do, but that's just not the case with trading. So you have to realize that that's just not going to happen. You're not going to see that instant gratification. Now, what I can say is one day you will, you know, one day you're just going to realize that, holy shit, this shit is starting to click. Maybe you go on a win streak and you get a payout and you're like, whoa. And then you continue that the next month, you get 2 more payouts. And then you're like, well, holy shit, this almost seems like instant gratification, but it's not. The truth is, you built that over time. You just couldn't see what was being built until the final product was done. You know, it's like putting a puzzle. It's like you're literally building a puzzle. When you put 3, 4, 5 pieces down, it doesn't look like much. Then you get like 30, 40 pieces and you can kind of see it. And then all of a sudden, all the pieces, you know exactly where they're going to fit and the puzzle's complete. And then you're like, oh, well, now I see it. Right now the puzzle's finished. So just keep that in mind. Quickly, I'm going to talk about emotions. I don't have much to say about this. You can't really control your emotions, but you can control your actions. You can't stop. Like, I know people say, oh, you have to be an emotionless trader. You're not going to be an emotionless trader. It's going to sting a little when you lose, obviously. You're going to get a fear of missing out. You're going to get impatient. You're going to get frustrated. Maybe you start disbelieving your model. You're going to lack discipline. You're going to lack focus. You're going to lose your calm. Sometimes you're going to lose determination. The things I want to talk about here is you're not going to be perfect, but what you need to do, in my personal opinion, this is what I do. You need to understand your personal objectives and goals and understand the emotions that kind of come into play with that. So I'll give you guys an example, probably one of the most common examples. A lot of people, they want to make money. So losing or fear of not winning really affects them in trading because they're just, I got to make this much money by this time. So then they lose a trade and that hurts them so much more than, for example, if someone else loses a trade, right? Say if a millionaire lost $1,000, you really think they would feel that? No, probably not. But if you're broke and you really need $1,000 and you lost your payout, for example, that's going to sting. You have fear of not making money and you have the fear of potentially losing a trade that you have to overcome. You need to figure out what's the root cause, right? Why do you feel like you need to make money right now, right? Why can't it be, say, in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right? Is there a reason? Are you financially unstable and you can't afford to pay bills? Well, then maybe you shouldn't be looking for something that can't pay the bills right now. I'm not saying quit trading, but you might have to look for something else on the side to fill that goal. Because if you're going to be constantly fear of losing money or fear of missing a move, that's really going to impact your trading, right? You don't want to be forcing setups just to make money. When in reality, that's not consistent. And the issue is sometimes people have that mentality they don't realize, and then they win and they think, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter, I won. But then they start losing and they start seeing the impact of that mindset after the fact, right? So you have to really understand what's causing, like what's the root cause of whatever it may be. Is it fear of missing a move? Or what are you really fearing? You know, ask yourself. Just sit there and ask yourself, what am I fearing right now? Am I scared that I'm not making money today? Maybe not. Maybe it's I'm scared that I'm not going to make money at all, right? Is that the case? Maybe you're not too confident in your model then, right? Say you had a model that you knew for sure that after 1 year time or after 100 trades, you would end in net profit, right? Would you be more confident then? Probably, right? That's what I have that model. So I'm confident in my model, whether I lose or win. So you really get down to that root cause of what is it. And I'll keep my focus here on fear of losing or fear of missing out because I feel like that's a really big portion of it. People don't want to lose. Guys, what are you scared of losing? Your $50 evaluation account, right? If that $50 is really such a big hold and grasp on you, you probably should be looking for some sort of other sustainable income in the meantime. But I know for a lot of you, at least a lot of you I talk to, $50 eval is not the end of the world, right? So, or even the funded, right? Is it really that bad to lose $200 on a trade or $100 on a trade? Like, what makes you so attached to that $100? It's not even a real account. It's a funded account. So sometimes you just got to look back and be like, wow. And I'm guilty of this. Man, sometimes I reduce my stop loss by like $20 when I'm not supposed to. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll just save myself the extra 20 in case I lose. And then I'll get stopped out and it'll play out. And I'm like, I look back and I'm like, did I really make that decision for $20? Like, I really could, I don't even care if I lost 200 to begin with. That's what I risked originally. So why am I going to get stingy for $20 just to get a little bit more tighter? So just leave the stop loss where it is. It's $20. You're really gonna get stingy for $20? You get what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you gotta take a step back and be like, do I really care if I lose this account, right? Do I really care if I lose this trade? Is it really gonna impact the grand scheme of things? No, the answer is no. So really get down to that root cause of where the emotion is coming from. Maybe it's impatience, right? What's causing that impatience? What are you impatient for, right? Why can't you just sit there and be like, oh, whatever? What is it? Is it because you need to make money this week? If so, you got to get rid of that mentality. You got to figure out a way to get rid of that because that's just not the reality of trading, right? And then obviously whatever else here, for example, disbelief, you have lack of focus. all things you can do here. You can try to focus on. The idea is focus on the root cause of what's causing the emotion. Try to get to the bottom of it and see if you can kind of unravel the layers of that and get to the bottom of it. And then you can maybe focus on an exact problem. Maybe it's external. Maybe it's what to do with your trading. Whether or it does not matter which it is, but you can get to that root cause and hopefully find a solution for yourself. And if not, you can always talk. People in the Discord. We have a large Discord. We have a psychology section. You can always DM me. I think talking about it really, really helps. I know it helps me. Literally making this video because I know it's gonna help me. Hopefully, this video can inspire some of you guys to work on your trading psychology. In my personal opinion, a lot of people ask me like, how much percent do you think it's psychology? I think it's pretty close to like 70-30 or something like that, right? Once you have a model, that works. That's all theory. Theory is not what really comes to important, right? You can backtest a million trades. In theory, you are a great trader. In theory, your model is absolutely amazing. That doesn't mean much if you can't actually implement that model into live markets. So, you know, a bad model can be implemented by someone who's really renowned. Say you have a very bad model. If you still are really good with risk management, money management, managing your emotions, managing your stuff like that, you could probably still be profitable, even with not the best model. But you can have the absolute best model, but if you don't have that other stuff in check, it's not really going to matter because you can't do anything with that model you have. So that's kind of the importance of trading psychology. I know this was kind of a long video, but I hope I inspired some of you guys to maybe look into your psychology a little bit more. Take it a little bit more serious because trust me, it's more serious than you think. Especially if you're first starting out. I know when I first started out, I was like, I'm not gonna be like those other guys. I get it. Trading psychology is important, but like I'm super focused. I'm super determined. It's gonna be fine. And then you lose and you realize that you're just like every other person who over or underestimated trading psychology. So take some time, understand your trading psychology, your mentality, ask questions if you need to. I will see you guys live every single day at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Take care. Peace.